You are listening to Radio Maria Canada. We now present the Health Hub, hosted by Kathy Biasi.
Welcome to the Health Hub on Radio Maria Canada, exploring cutting-edge health and wellness information and therapies, helping you to take your health to the next level. I'm your host, Kathy Biasi, and I'm an holistic nutritionist and a professional cancer coach. Many Canadians today are living with inflammatory bowel disease, and this is a group of conditions of which the two main forms are Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. Our guest today is Dane Johnson. In 2014, a life-threatening case of Crohn's colitis nearly took his life, and Dane will share with us his remarkable story of healing and how he lives his life today in service of others suffering from similar disease. Dane is the founder and CEO of Crohn's Colitis Lifestyle and a board-certified nutritionist specializing in reversing Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. Since committing his life to natural healing, he has remained surgery and medication-free while eliminating IBD symptoms. To date, Dane and his passionate team of doctors, specialists, and coaches have created over 500 success stories for reversing IBD using his signature S.H.I.E.L.D program. His international IBD consulting firm is one of the few organizations in the world that only treat IBD and see roughly 100 plus international IBD cases a week, despite any unique needs that people may have. Dane and his team have successfully worked with IBD clients despite surgery. They work with people of all ages, people who are on medication. They work with people who have had past experiences with Crohn's or colitis, diet preference, extreme cases. They work with people all over the world in all cultures. His passion, his unique experience, and niche in the field of IBD have empowered him to create unparalleled value for real, long-term symptom relief for those suffering from inflammatory bowel disease. As mentioned, a number of people suffer with IBD in Canada and worldwide. And this is a show that will hit home for a lot of people looking for integrated or alternative ways to deal with their disease. We talk about what are key principles for naturally healing from Crohn's and colitis, why it is foundational to develop faith in healing with supporting the ability of our bodies. So, this is a concept that has come through a little bit more recently in our shows, this idea of, looking in, looking outward to help in the healing process. And then we discuss, of course, what Dane's S.H.I.E.L.D program is. Please stay tuned with us. We will be back in just a few minutes to speak with Dane Johnson.
You are listening to Radio Maria Canada. We now continue with the program, The Health Hub, hosted by Kathy Biasi.
Welcome back to our show, everybody. It has been recorded, so no opportunity for calling in. Please do follow us on our social sites. We are on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and we are at the Health Hub RMC on those locations. Dane, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Kathy. I feel honored to be here, and thank you everyone who's listening. I'm excited to help you heal.
Well, your story holds a special place for me. I have family members who go through colitis, and so I think it's watching their journey and watching how things really have advanced in the medical space, I have to be honest with you,
Mhm.
is something that I want to bring forward to people. And I think you are the absolute perfect person to do that. So before we jump into the what's and the how's and the why's, why don't you tell us your story?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed first with ulcerative colitis, then diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and then the different doctors at the biggest hospitals couldn't make up their mind which one it was. So it was ulcerative colitis with gastritis, no widespread Crohn's disease, no, it's just ulcerative colitis, no, it's just Crohn's disease. And so I started just calling it Crohn's colitis. And all I knew that I was getting more and more sick chronically, where I was having upwards of 25 bloody bowel movements a day. I lost about 60 pounds of weight. I had no energy. I was covered in cystic acne on my face, my back, my chest. I would have severe pain. So when I went to the bathroom, I felt like I was pooping glass. I'd have to go 4, 5, 6 times in a row. Not sure why at the time. And I had tons of bloating and gas and urgency. I couldn't be without a bathroom about 15 feet away. So it restricted my ability to leave the house or go places. And this went on for years. I started getting really sick around 23, diagnosed around 22 with UC. First symptoms of blood in the stool at 19 years old. And then at 23, it just got a little bit worse, I went on all the medications as told. I just wanted my life back. I didn't want to go against the grain. I wasn't interested in natural medicine. So I went on prednisone and Lialda. Then I went on 6-MP. Then I went on Remicade, methotrexate. Then Remicade didn't work, went over to Entyvio. I had to go on TPN feeding tube at its worst. I had to use a chemotherapy to save my life in 2014. So by the time my 27th birthday, I was hooked up to a machine fighting for my life, and I nearly passed away in the hospital. That's December 2014. The whole family flew in. Doctors didn't know why I was getting so sick. At the time, I was on 200 milligrams of infused prednisone, 4 different antibiotics they had tried. I was on painkillers, Ambient, 3 grams of Dilaudid, which is basically legal heroin. And that was kind of keeping me afloat. And it was torture. And I finally found a way out. I mean, the big climatic thing everyone I think should know is what got me really sick, hindsight 2020, when I finally learned and really became the CEO of my health and started researching, is that a virus had overwhelmed my body. And that's why I had gotten so sick in that moment versus other times of just being severely sick with Crohn's colitis, but not life-threatening. So that virus was cytomegalovirus, which we found. There was a doctor in Miami who found it in one of my colonoscopies of about 6 or 7 colonoscopies. So it was actually my mom who saved my life, because she was calling every doctor, every specialist I had met over the last 4 years. I was chronically sick for about 4 years, just getting worse and worse. I tried to hide it. I tried to work. I tried to be with family. I had moments where I got a little better on steroids, and then it just would get worse. So it was just a declining chart of health for years. And that doctor, got on the phone with our doctor at the hospital. I was checked into the hospital for about 30 days straight, and he said, if you don't give this young man an antiviral chemo, he's going to pass away. And we called the insurance, said, you got to give it to him now. You're not going to find it in his blood. You're not going to find it in stool analysis. So they decided to give me a sample, and then that's when I woke up. And then I was housebound for a year. I checked myself out of the hospital against the doctor's orders. I did not get my colon removed against the doctor's orders. And the first thing I did is, I had started at that point 4 years later getting into natural medicine because I felt backed into a corner. There was nothing else I could do. I saw some inconsistencies in what the best doctors in the country at UCLA or Cedars-Sinai were telling me. So I said, there's something here. Maybe I can do something about this. I started getting involved in natural medicine, went back to school for natural medicine, and I was working with this naturopath professor who really felt like a mentor and a leader for me spiritually and emotionally, and just, a trainer, as you say, and becoming self-empowered. And he was the first person I called and said, what do I do? And he helped write me up a pretty generic plan when I checked myself out of the hospital to put me on, vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin D. He did teach me one thing that was truly amazing for my health, many things, but one thing I would highlight in this moment that really helped me was a binding agent called bentonite clay with a mixture of a little bit of psyllium husk. And we can talk about that, but that really did help clear out my bowels, because I would have 7-8 bowel movements in a row because my body couldn't properly evacuate the toxins in the colon. And that did help. So yeah, I was housebound for a year, and I was bed rested for 3 months. I lost the ability to walk. My mind was completely gone being on that many drugs, and I had to slowly wean myself off. I weaned myself off faster than the doctors recommended. I was just that kind of person that was, ready to take control of my life after 4 years of suffering. And, I woke up, one day at 2015, a year later, and I had dedicated my life to natural healing. I only ate what I cooked. I studied 4 hours a day. I finished natural medicine school. I worked with many different naturopath doctors, not just in hiring them, but became friends, went to lunches, and surrounded myself with that energy, that mindset, the possibilities. And about a year later, I was about 85% symptom free. I had decided to get myself off Entyvio, methotrexate. I'd weaned myself off the steroids. I'd gotten myself off any antibiotics, obviously the antivirals. I hadn't taken any medications, got myself off Ambient. And I was medication free, 85, 90% symptom relief. My sigmoidoscopy looked 80 to 90% better. My blood work was normal. And I got my life back.
Well, and it's unbelievable what you went through. I mean, this is not the norm of the pathway of this disease.
No, it's not. And I was looking down the barrel. I had one of the worst experiences with IBD. I mean, it wasn't like I was just having a little bit. I mean, it was killing me. I mean,
with the viral aspect on top of that.
Well, I didn't figure that out till years later. Mm-hmm. So we're sitting there for 3-4 years and saying, what happened? I mean, I didn't have anything wrong. And I bet a lot of viewers can relate with that. What happened? I was a normal kid. I didn't have any of these symptoms when I was 12, 14, 18 years old. It just popped out of nowhere. And the doctors just told me, bad luck, better luck next life.
No, did they say that the virus was the cause of the IBD? Or I guess IBD is too broad.
That was our own findings. Even when the doctor, we didn't even put 2 and 2 together. Even when that doctor in Florida said, I think he's got a viral load going on, we didn't really know what to do with that information for a few years, even after that, because we didn't really have any training in that. We didn't know what to do with it. So it was, okay, we'll go on. Well, what do we do? We were just regular folk. Mm-hmm. And okay, what do we do? Well, you're going to have to ask your doctor, your GI, put me on the phone with them. I'll tell them what to do. And that's when he said, hey, you got to go on this antiviral chemotherapy. And so it was just from there, our thought wasn't, oh, we got to research these viruses and go after that. I mean, it was months for me to be able to eat food again. And I was still having 12 bloody bowel movements a day in severe pain. Mm-hmm.
There's so many things from your story that you can pull from, and conclusions and directions. But what stands out to me most profoundly, and I love to share this type of information because I deal with clients that can be profoundly ill as well. The body can heal. Mm-hmm. I mean, you were at the brink and you found a way, and the body can heal. Where, you've gone over sort of the generalization and in depth of your story, but where did you start? So when you found out that this was the path you wanted to go down, or the missing piece, maybe. I don't know if your mindset is that the medical process was a complete failure, and then you went in the natural direction, or if it was a combination of the two. But where did you start personally taking control?
Yeah. So, from years, and we're talking about something over years of time that we're breaking into a very short segment, right? So this was a lot of trial and error. And what was the breaking point for me is after years of being backed into a corner and following the orders here. Okay, let's go on this biologic. Let's go on this steroid. Let's go on this antibiotic. Let's go on this diet, and not getting results. Something had to change, and I didn't know what it was. And then it finally dawned on me when I finally started getting results that the biggest thing that changed is I took full responsibility for my health and what was happening in my body. And every little thing I did, everything I felt, everything I said, everything I put in my mouth. And the 4 years prior, it was my doctor's responsibility or my mother or father's responsibility to fix me. I was being tugged along like a tugboat. So as a young kid, I did nothing to deserve this disease. And because it wasn't my fault, subconsciously, it wasn't my responsibility. And that was the big change, is that when I finally was tired of being a victim of this disease, losing my 20s, losing my life, I was angry. If you would have asked me when I was chronically sick before I was truly ready to heal, I would have said, I'm ready. How could you say this to me? How could you talk to me like I'm not doing anything? I'm suffering. I'm miserable. I would have been angry at you to say something like this to me. But then something snapped where I'm tired of being a victim. I'm going to take full accountability for what's happening here, even though it's not my fault. It's not fair that I can't eat food, but you know what? I'm accepting it and I'm going to take action on it. It's not fair that I can't be away from a bathroom. It's not fair that I can hardly walk. It's not fair that my body's suffering. And I'm not a doctor. I didn't go to school to be a doctor and wake up one day and say, my passion is to learn how to fix my own gut. So this happened to me whether I liked it or not. And I had to emotionally and mentally get to a place where I was excited, I was willing, and I was convicted to create an answer. And that doesn't happen overnight.
No, and that aspect of taking control is life-changing. I've experienced it. And it's not that you are falling into a victim type of mentality, but it's when you're not well, when you don't have a lot of energy, when you don't know why, you're out searching for answers out there. And I think you have to go through that path. You look for answers out there before you can turn in and say, I got to add to this. At the very least, I have to add to this. Where did taking control start with you? Where is that line that you crossed and you said, okay, this is where I'm stepping in?
So the first thing, oddly enough, that really helped me take control is I just decided to do things that could only help me and could not hurt me. Mm-hmm. And that was that imaginary brick wall, because I was always looking for the answers outside of us. We always believe, this is an exterior solution. And so there was a huge shift when I realized there was so much inside of me that could have changed, that could have way more impact than I originally thought or give credit for. I gave no credit to what my body could do internally. I gave no credit to the signal, right? The chemical signal changed when I changed my nervous system, when I changed my mind, when I changed my sleeping habits, when I changed my relationship with food. So there are a few things that I did that were always there for me, and I would highly recommend anyone listening to consider doing these, because they're very easy. They just take conviction and discipline. They're actually easy to do. It's just hard with our quote unquote normal lifestyles. So the first thing I did is I only ate what I cooked. That was easy in a way, but very hard emotionally. Second thing is I journaled every day what I ate, what my symptoms were, how I felt, and I tracked it. So I would label like the amount of blood I saw in the stool, 1 out of 10, the amount of urgency, the amount of mucus, how well the formation was, what time I had bowel movements. I would journal on if I felt a certain meal cause an extra bowel movement or more pain or more undigested food in the stool, or maybe more dizzy. So I journaled every day for about 187 days. I know everything, every symptom. I know my weight. I knew everything about my day. And it actually became quite easy, and I started looking forward to it. But the 4 years prior, why didn't I think about that? Why was I so resistant? So there was this subconscious brick wall holding me back from taking that level of accountability that was always quite obvious. It wasn't rocket science. I just wasn't willing. And because I wasn't willing, I couldn't get creative, Kathy.
But you were young. You were young.
And that's okay. And it's not, exactly. I was young. I didn't ask for this. And when you want to do something great, you have to be the best version of yourself spiritually and emotionally to heal. Yeah. It is a tall order.
Being young and having a disease is a different headspace than being an older person with a disease. When you're young,
Yeah.
you don't have most people don't have those ideologies or those thoughts of their mortality. It's just, you just don't. So,
Mhm.
you're trying to overcome all this at a very, very young age. And it even sounds like you had a little bit of self-blame in there, which,
Yeah.
your journey is not just one of health in the
Mhm.
physical space. You touched on something about your nervous system, and we talked about this just before we started the show. Your mindset, your spirituality impacts your nervous system. And to me, this is a burgeoning, it might not be a new area of health for many people who have been in the study process, but for those of us in the natural health space, the integrative health space, I prefer to say, the impact of our thoughts and our directions and our mindset on the neurological space of our health is profound. And to
Mhm.
me, being a nutritionist, I rank nutrition not top of the line when it comes to the beginning of the healing process. And, we're not talking about this ethereal, spirituality coming upon and changing. This is an actual impact of our minds, our thought process on how the communication is relayed through our nervous system towards the rest of our body. Did you
Mhm.
find that piece very surprising to yourself?
I found it very surprising. And like you, I found it to be the most important factor. The 4 years prior, it wasn't that I wasn't trying. I was doing the SCD diet. I was doing fasting bone broth, only eating pureed carrots for days at a time, taking probiotics by the pound. I was making my own yogurts, and my family was spending thousands of dollars hiring natural medicine doctors trying to help. I wasn't getting the results. The signal in my body hadn't changed yet. I was stuck in fight or flight. I was stuck in anxiety. There was adrenaline pumping through my body 24/7 with anger, resentment, doubt, fear. And when you asked me even to layer onto that question of what did you do, what were some things, those are all things that are changing how safe I feel in my body, how confident I feel what I can do can work, how simple my efforts are, that I can just be at peace. We need simplicity. Success has to be simple. So if your plan is too difficult, it's going to overwhelm you and you're going to get burnt out. That's the balance of healing. It has to be something that's repeatable. So when I woke up, like you were saying with the emotional and spiritual, I found a way to be impactful, but also be balanced in that, and to create more dopamine and serotonin in my body, and engage the parasympathetic. So for instance, I'd wake up. Another thing I did is I started doing prayer and purpose every morning and night. And the reason I decided to do prayer and purpose is because it could not hurt me and it could only help me. I had to put my ego aside and say, forget the conversation, whether you're religious or not. It felt good to release and to give power to a higher power and say, this is what I'm manifesting. This is my affirmation. This is my ask. This is my why. And thank you for this opportunity. And then I would journal. How'd your night go? And then I would go make my own breakfast with a robe and a tea. And then I put on Bob Marley. Why? Because it felt good. And I'd open the doors, and I healed myself in Santa Monica, California. And one of the mentors I was reading, Jordan Rubin, Patient Heal Thyself, The Maker's Diet, he had healed himself in Huntington Beach. And I said, this is meant to be. Find a reason that it's meant to be. Find a reason that this is going to happen. He'd healed right down the road. And so I'd go outside on my deck. I took care of about 150 plants, and I would read. You couldn't pay me to read when I was 16 years old in high school. I would read for 3, especially when I was housebound. People go, what do you do? Aren't you bored? I said, are you kidding me? I got a full-time job. I got so much going on here. I found ways to feel good. Like, when you go, oh man, I should really go to the gym, but I don't really want to. And then after the gym, you go, oh God, I'm so glad I went to the gym. It felt so good. It was like that. I became a master of experiencing quality energy every day before my mind could talk myself out of it. Does that make sense?
It does. And, for those of us who have been in a health crisis, this was my experience. And I don't know if it's your experience, but, you can comment on it. Trying to find belief in a body that has seemingly been failing you or betraying you, that's a big step. And I think that's why it's hard for a lot of people to get to that space. You can put in the work, you can put in the nutrition, you do the exercise, but to really believe that your body can come back to you, that's a tough, tough space for people to cross.
Yeah, it's therapy, it's nourishment.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you one thing that was hard for me is I was a big gym guy. So I was working out all the time. And since I was a little kid, I felt like I had to go back and heal myself as a man, that I always had something to prove. I always wanted to be bigger, faster, and stronger. I always wanted to win. I had to let all that go. It didn't matter and I think a lot of guys who are listening right now might relate with this, or people might know someone who relates with this. It didn't matter how much muscle I had, or how ripped I was, or how strong I was. I had to let all that go. It didn't matter anymore. What mattered is that I had self-love, that I found a reason to smile, that I experienced everyday laughter. I call it walk towards a smile. You have to experience positive energy. You can't just wait to react to positive energy. I woke up and read because I knew it would start my day with a positive energy. I would plan on calling people because when I couldn't leave my house and hardly walk, I could still laugh with my friends over the phone. Mm-hmm. I created ways of feeling good every day. And when I felt good, I got clarity, and it became easier to eat a certain way, read a certain thing, try a supplement, try an herb, and maybe they didn't work, and maybe they did work, but I needed time. If you're consistently not feeling good, you're going to break down and burn out. If you can get those positive energy, that positive laughter, it will create more space for you to continue to try. That's how I was housebound for a year. I had to let go of, I got to go make money. I had to let go of, I've got to look perfect, and I'm losing my career, and I'm losing my 20s. I had to find happiness in that moment. And I started learning. I was rebuilding what normal was, what my relationship with food was, how I was going to live. And that's what gave me a sense of happiness and excitement, because I was redefining who I was and what my normal was, because I was never going to change again. I'm still the same. I still eat very clean. I love to eat clean because of that emotional shift and spiritual shift I had in that extreme time. It changed me forever.
And I think it's just foundational to building good health. And this is why I love your story. We're going to take a quick break. So, we've laid the foundation, as I just said. But when we come back, Dane, I'd like, we'll get into the meat and potatoes of your program and how you are working with so many and leading them out of gastrointestinal distress, colitis, Crohn's. It's fascinating. So everyone stay tuned. We will be back in just a few minutes.
You are listening to The Health Hub here on Radio Maria Canada, a Catholic voice wherever you are. To contact us and be a part of the show, email thh@radiomaria.ca. We now continue with the program. Here once again is your host, Kathy Biasi.
Welcome back, everybody. Dane, I want to continue on our conversation. Let's be a little bit more specific with what you have created in your space and why you decided to take your journey, your experience, and help others and create your S.H.I.E.L.D program. It's a lot of questions in there, I know, but, take us to that mindset that said, I need to help others.
So, when I finally got the results I got, it felt like you pinched me. I had woken up from a nightmare that I was told I'd never get out of. And I had failed to get out of so many times. And I had tried so many diets and supplements, and my family had spent a fortune. And so when I looked at it, I said, well, what were the things that really helped me get out? I had to become the CEO of my health, and I had to customize a plan for myself, and many other things. But then this deep why came inside of me that really felt like one, I had a superpower. When you go through such pain and suffering, the irony is you really build a superpower in life. And that there were very few people in this world who had gone through what I had gone through and gotten to where I had gotten. And I knew a lot of people have the same mission as me, that I want to be free, I want to be safe, I don't want to take medications for the rest of my life, and I don't want to cut out body parts. And I had gotten there. And it was extremely hard. It took years, and even years later, I still had to learn and grow and shift. And so I felt like I had something very unique to offer the world, and that God had given me a superpower that I could do something really great. I really had found a passion, a mission, a way to touch others and make a real difference in life. So I felt like it was my duty in a way, and I was excited. And so the first thing I did is I just put my story out there, and I said, this is where I was, this is where I am. If you need help, I'd love to work with you. And I started working with people, and I started getting fantastic results for people around the world. And I started late 2015 working with people, and it's 2024 now. So 9 years. In 9 years, I've bootstrapped a company and built up a solution, and we've helped people get massive success on every continent, of every walk of life. People who've been sick for 40 years, post-surgery. I've worked with 3 to 5-year-old kids and gotten great success. We've helped in every way. And so I just feel like my why is to pay it forward. I've been in those shoes. I know what it's like to suffer like that family, and then try to find and build something that actually works. That's the difficult part, because we're all so different. As you know, Kathy,
Yes.
we're all so different, and we're in different places, and our body's responding differently to different therapies. So that's been really the mission, is how do I build something that actually can work for people and get people results? That's the number one goal. How do I get others results, and how do I show? And I've just been dedicated to that for the past 9 years.
Your S.H.I.E.L.D., what is the acronym S.H.I.E.L.D.? It is an acronym, I assume.
Yeah. It's a metaphor and an acronym. So an acronym for supplements, herbs, imagination, exercise, lifestyle, and diet.
Got it. Very good.
6 pillars of health. And it's because it's not one thing that's going to get you healthy. It's everything combined. It's everything combined. I had done the diets. I didn't get results. I had taken the probiotic or the fish oil or the curcumin. Didn't get results. I had done different types of exercises to open up my small intestine, or work on properly releasing my, evacuating my colon with squats, or exercise. Didn't get results. I had changed my relationship with food and people and what I was willing to do, and I still would suffer. So it was when I put everything together and customized it to me. And the metaphor is S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D. is a way of living free, because you have to realize that you cannot eradicate disease. You cannot eradicate anything really in life. A bad day, you can't eradicate the chance of getting sick. You can't eradicate gingivitis, right? You stop brushing your teeth, gingivitis will come back. So S.H.I.E.L.D. is a way of saying, look, the goal of freedom is to respond to adversity, not eradicate it. And to respond to stress, to respond to adversity in life, you need a S.H.I.E.L.D. So if you're out there and you're saying, I want to be able to get married and not be sick, I want to be able to travel the world, I want to be able to get back in the gym, I want to be able to pursue my career and not have Crohn's, colitis, or IBD overshadow that, you're going to have to take on stress to achieve your dreams and not get sick at the same time. So that's what it's about. It's ability to handle stress, not eradicate it.
And that's perfect, because the S.H.I.E.L.D. acronym, or the S.H.I.E.L.D. ideology or image, I guess is probably a better word. You can take this and apply it to any area of health, integrative health. And with that underlying foundational belief that we can change our own health, and that it is not, you don't stand on one leg. There are pillars of health that have all to be integrated. I think it's a great way to present what you do for other people. Now, specifically, your program, is that for just Crohn's and colitis, or the IBD is an umbrella covering many different thumbprints of gut disease. Is it applicable in all areas of gut health?
It's applicable for IBD and some IBS. So we will work with other forms of IBD like microscopic colitis, pancolitis. So we do see that we focus on Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. And something also about the program that people should know is my mission is impact here. And to get impact, I haven't focused so much on scalability, meaning our program, we can only take around 30, at most 40 people in a month that we can work with around the world. And right now, diagnosed with Crohn's colitis, there's considered around the world 7-8 million, just that we know of, probably much greater. And we see a lot of clients who are undiagnosed. So it's difficult to offer something so grand and that everyone can come in and get results, because you really need a one-on-one coach. Mm-hmm. You really need time. So everyone in our program gets a one-on-one coach for 3 months included in the program, plus a breakdown of, going through the program and the coursework. Plus you're able to talk to anyone else in the program immediately. We don't govern people being able to talk to each other. You can see what other people's results are, what their protocols are. You can talk with them. So our community is constantly talking to each other.
If someone has been through the medical system and has had a resection or surgery done, are they candidates for your program?
Yes, we have many who are post-surgery in the program. And a lot of times what I want people to realize is that conventional medicine and natural medicine are actually very symbiotic. They work very well together, meaning if you decide that a biologic is for you, or you need to get a surgery, using natural methods can help with recovery, can reduce the chance of needing another surgery, can help the biologics work better, because everything we're doing here just empowers the body to be healthier.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you said that. Very glad you said that.
Yeah. What we're doing here is just empowering a normal body to be healthy. Like, this is just good for everyone. Mm-hmm. It's not just, you have Crohn's colitis, you have to eat this way. No. You are building a healthy gut. You are optimizing digestion. And that kind of rolls into some of the root issues I see in people. And I want everyone to realize that because you have IBD, it doesn't mean you have an alien gut that's so different than everyone else's. It's just injured. And it can be chronically injured. And there are core issues within your GI tract and how it's working versus how a person who doesn't have the disease. But both are just human guts that should be operating with earth food the way they're meant to be. So, when we come and we work with you, we're looking at your digestive process. Do you have healthy amounts of stomach acid? Can you create healthy amounts of pancreatic enzymes? Do you have a healthy amount of bile production to break down fats and make testosterone and properly absorb vitamin A, D, K, E? What's going on? Do you have a healthy and diverse microbiome? A lot of us with IBD have a poor microbiome. And because we have poor diversity of microbiome, it creates an environment where other pathogens can start to thrive. And this is common in every disease. So if you're listening, you don't have IBD, this is still probably a core issue with chronic disease. Mm-hmm. You have fungus, mold thriving. You have candida, yeast thriving. You have parasites thriving, especially if you have low stomach acid or you're raised on a river or on a farm. You have viruses thriving in the body because the immune system, 70% of it lives in the gut. And with a weak microbiome, your immune system starts to get weak and it cannot control exterior pathogens like viruses. That's what happened to me. And by the way, I also had massive candida, H. pylori infection. I also had parasites. So it's not one different pathogen. Most of us have multiple pathogens because the environment, imagine a pond. It's not one problem in the pond. When it can't control the ecosystem, there's 4 or 5 things that go wrong. It's very similar in the gut. So we have that microbiome core issue. And then we get the leaky gut where the mucosal membrane thins out, the epithelial cell wall breaks. This causes more food sensitivities. This causes more acne, skin reactions. This causes more brain fog and headaches and arthritic pains. So there's these root issues just in the engine of the gut that we're not being communicated to about. Like when I went to the biggest doctors in the world, no one talked to me about my digestive process, which to me is the problem. Our doctors are brilliant. They help save my life. Prednisone saved my life, no doubt. They save lives every day. But there are different systems. We need different types of experts to holistically get empowered again. So you want someone talking to you about, how is my digestive process? How is my microbiome diversity? Do I have signs of leaky gut? If you have IBS or IBD, you have leaky gut. How is my drainage pathways? Is my liver properly functioning? It's beyond just an ALT, AST analysis on your blood work. Okay? And liver is a constant problem where you probably cannot detox if you have parasites or you have mold especially. So liver, lymphatic system, gallbladder, bile production, all of these things are the engine, and they're not properly working. When I look at when I was chronically sick, I was covered in cystic acne, my liver was completely overwhelmed. No one had told me I had 3 to 4 times normal threshold of candida. It was sitting in my stool analysis. I did a non-invasive quantitative PCR stool analysis when I got into functional medicine, and there was massive amounts of mold. I'm sorry, massive amounts of candida. And then same thing with H. pylori, tons of H. pylori. H. pylori causes ulcerations. I remember a few years prior, the doctor said, you have ulcerative colitis with gastritis with massive ulcerations in your stomach. No one talked to me about H. pylori.
Do you think that we've changed, that the medical space has come a long way with respect to investigating those areas?
No.
Since you still, okay. So
No.
then within your program, is there baseline testing done?
There can be. So we don't require that a person gets testing because functional testing is very expensive.
Yeah, it is.
It's very expensive. And so what we do is we give people access. We have the ability to get you the labs you need around the world. We work with tons of people in Canada, America, UK. We have people in Africa, India, you name it. So I can do a stool analysis on a client in Dubai or London. So we have the ability. And second thing is we make no profit. So everyone in the program has access to labs whenever you need at wholesale price. So we'll do thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in labs per year, but we make $0 in it. It's kind of a big mission of mine that this is not something that we need to make a dollar on. You need access to labs. But labs are a North Star. When someone's coming in on a budget, the 2 biggest things I want you to focus your finances on when you're healing yourself is I want you to focus on coaching, and I want you to focus on protocol. So what are you actually going to incorporate? Is it going to be a coffee enema or a TUDCA enema? Is it going to be a suppository? Is it going to be a mucosal healing tea? Is it going to be a probiotic regimen? Is it going to be an anti-C. diff protocol? Is it going to be an anti-H. pylori or something that's going to increase natural digestion? I mean, what are the protocols you're going to run, and who's going to be your partner to train you and help talk to you about what you're experiencing along the way?
So would you walk in, if you've got someone coming into your program, would you have general assumptions about the gut health? I mean, dysbiosis, yes.
In 5 minutes, we already know what we want to do. I mean, that's the great thing and that's where when we hear where someone is, like I can just listen to someone with 5 minutes. I'm already asking, have you done, a lot of us just need to do the natural things. Like we call it a proven system. We call it the daily blueprint, where it's a proven system we've done hundreds of times that we like to start someone on a version of that. So it's focusing on probiotics. It's focusing on semi-elemental, so driving nutrients into the body that can actually be bioavailable. That's a big problem with IBD. And then working on getting rid of sugars, getting rid of processed foods, getting rid of inflammatory seed oils. I mean, there's a lot of that everyone's just not doing. So we say, okay.
And this is why nutrition is not like the first avenue for most cases. You've got to heal. Yeah.
And we call that a defensive strategy. You want to start your plan with things that are low risk and high reward. So a isolated single strain probiotic can be a good example of that. An anti-inflammatory product like endographis, curcumin, and acetylglucosamine can be great to help regulate the cytokine reaction. Indigo naturalis can be great at that. A lot of times, vitamin D, high dose vitamin D, mucosal healing tea, certain binding agents can be. So where we see very low risk on someone not having a negative reaction, but we can see great symptom relief. So we want to start with that proven system, but we always customize it to you. Do you know, if you're saying you're constipated, or you're saying you have a bowel obstruction, or you're saying that you have 20 bowel movements a day versus someone who only has 4, or you're noticing that you naturally feel better eating animal-based, or you naturally feel better eating plant-based. So, and the plan changes based on what you're already experiencing and what you're telling us. And so from there, if someone says, well, Dane, I want the labs now, we can go ahead and get the labs. Mm-hmm. But if you're on a budget, I might say, let's try to run a plan for 2 to 6 weeks. Based on that experience, we then can run labs as desired, and even labs under insurance. We love to try to get whatever labs we can under insurance. So calprotectin is going to be great. Your CBC, your CMP with iron panel, vitamin D, CRP, SED rate. Those are great ones to go ahead and do under insurance immediately. But even so, to my point, that if you even wait 3 or 4 weeks, those labs already might look better. Mm-hmm. And if they look better, I might say to someone who's on a budget or extremely traumatized by what's going on, that if I can reduce the Christmas lights just by putting you on a proven system, then when we look at the lab, there's less going on that can overwhelm you, that can traumatize you, that can make you feel like you're going to be sick for the rest of your life. People, we can be very thrown off course by a lab result, definitely.
Well, I think, once someone starts to see the result and the ball rolling towards better health,
yep,
that belief in your body starts to take seed. And so by going about this, and we're talking about people who maybe have a lifetime of gut issues, and it impacts everything. It impacts all aspects, not just of health, but of daily life. So I think the strategy is beautiful because, we tend to crave what's most satisfying. And as we see our path to health opening up, people will take on more things and maybe want to have the labs done. And it's a great starting point for everybody, I believe.
And I don't want to dilute labs. They're extremely important. I want you to get labs. It's just the strategy of when. So it's a personal experience that we're going to run with you, and we can go both ways. And the biggest thing that I want to get when I start working with someone is I want to get results. If I can start getting them to feel better in a matter of weeks, they're going to be so excited, so thankful, so compliant, so interested in learning, so much more willing to show up and do different trainings. So ROI is the name of the game. If I can get you return on that investment, if I can get you impact quickly, it will change your relationship with natural medicine entirely.
And with your body. And, back to the lab tests, I mean, the expense is also, you can't just do one. You want to be able to see improvement. So you do one, and then, how many 6 weeks down the road, you do another one. So I think the approach is a great way when we're talking about integrative health, taking control, and just that whole aspect of believing in your own body by an understanding of what you do and how impactful that is. Unfortunately, we're getting to the end of the show here. So what I'd like to give you some space to do is let everybody know how they can reach out to you, websites, anything you'd like to offer up to them.
First, I'd like to offer up my love, my conviction, my hope. I'm here to help, and you can do this. Healing is possible, and it's very difficult, but I will make a stand for you, and I will do everything in my power to help if you feel I'm the right fit for you. If you'd like to connect and learn more about our solutions, we do have a second solution coming out, more of a subscription service where you can get information and resources, especially for those on a budget. And what I would recommend is get on our email list, follow us on Instagram, YouTube. It's at Crohn's Colitis _lifestyle on Instagram, or Dane Johnson 1 for me on Instagram. YouTube /Crohn's Colitis lifestyle. If you search, you'll see us there. You can get on our email list just at crohnscolitislifestyle.com and start learning. And if if you feel like we're the best fit for you, we're going to do everything in our power to get you massive success. You'll be part of the family. You'll be a lifetime member, and we're going to continue to grow. The value of the S.H.I.E.L.D program now versus a year ago, it's hardly recognizable. This is not a train that's just at the station. It is a train moving 100 miles per hour towards new resources, new value, new ways to make it simple, new ways to get results. And so it's my passion, it's my baby, it's my dream. And I feel like when it comes to leadership, we need people who've suffered. We need people who've been in those shoes. We need people who have lost enough to know what it takes and know what it's like. And I'm just going to continue to do the best I can. And I'm here for you.
I agree. When you can be on common ground with someone who is not well, it's a different aspect of healing. It's a different aspect of a relationship. Dane, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. It's been a great show. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you, everyone. God bless.
Everybody, will talk to you next week on The Health Hub.
You have been listening to The Health Hub, hosted by Kathy Biasi, here on Radio Maria Canada.